Hi everybody, it's Yasmin here, ready for the daily message. I was just thinking back when I started doing astrology for other people as opposed to just doing it for myself. I started off the daily moon meditations, which I still do, but I actually started doing them when I was coming out of a very difficult relationship breakup, which I mentioned a couple of days ago. And I was telling you I basically didn't leave the house except to go out and buy sparkling red burgundy for a little while. Once I got through that period, I actually I realized that I had the tools I needed to get myself out of the hellhole I was in, albeit in a beautiful flat overlooking Bondi Beach. And the tool was astrology, and specifically moonology and the moon. And so I started to look at the chart for the day, every single day. For the first time, not just for myself, but everybody. I started writing on my website, which I had the website just because I'd actually had a novel published called Carole King is an Alien with Penguin. And this was about 2000 or 2001. And so I had this website and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to write about the moon every single day. And that was how I started doing what I do now, which was doing this free message every day on my website about the moon and what was going on with the moon. And doing these now reminds me of those days, because the thing, as it turned into like everything, my job, and I'm so grateful. Like people say, never do your job, never do your hobby as a job, because then it's not a hobby and it's not fun anymore. I completely disagree. I feel completely blessed that I get to do this and to earn my living from it, because it means I can completely immerse myself in it as well, because I'm not trying to sort of subsidize it with another job, which then I've got no energy left, blah blah blah. Anyway, this reminds me of those days in a way, of using the moon as a way to guide us through what we're going through. So hi to everybody. I can see everybody logging on Instagram and Facebook. This is also going to go out on SoundCloud. Hello from Germany, from Maggie. Alison in Australia, in Bendigo. Hi from Canberra, says Ruth. Diana, good morning, Diana. I look forward to this live sharing every morning. Me too. So today, if you look in the description, that at least is on Facebook and maybe on SoundCloud. I'm not quite sure. I'm kind of getting all the technology working. It's definitely not on Instagram, sorry. But what it says is, we're going to do a bit of astrology. I'm going to tell the story of how I met your father. That's kind of for my son who isn't watching, but anyway. And we'll do some chanting and we'll do a card for the day. So let's just start by talking about the astrology for today. We are heading towards a rather intense Mars-Saturn conjunction. So I don't know if you felt it. I will say we felt it here in the house yesterday. We all just exploded yesterday and went a bit crazy. Excuse me, partly because I think we haven't been getting out of the house enough, because we've been doing river walks, but then the last time we did a river walk was about two days ago, and there were so many people down there, we all kind of freaked out. And then we thought, we can't do that, because that's, there's no social distancing if you're in a crowd. And we are trying to respect the rules, because, like part of me thinks, in Denmark, they're not even doing any of this. They're all just living their lives as normal. So, we'll see what the result is there. But we're following the rules of where we are, and not least because my husband's a very upstanding citizen and doesn't want us to get fined. I forced him to take us on a drive around London about a week ago. I said, I've got to see something apart from just where we are. And he was like, but we got arrested. And they hadn't really introduced the laws yet, but now I think you actually can't do what we did, which was driving around aimlessly. Anyway, we had a Mars-Saturn moment yesterday, and in other words, there was a bit of an upset, which we're through now, and my husband's, beautifully wonderful man, and he forgives everything and forgives me with all my craziness. So I hope you've got someone like that. But if you've been having a bit of a drama at home, if you've been getting a touch of cabin fever, If someone has been getting a bit down in the dumps or a bit frustrated or climbing the walls, then that is what's going on. It's been Mars, Saturn. Oh, Monica's saying we do stay at home in Denmark. Oh, right. In the papers, it's all saying that that Denmark's kind of like gone rogue and they're just still in cafes and restaurants and all that. And they're, that's a bit strange. Anyway, so if you've had an upset, it was Mars, Saturn. And guess what? It's not over yet. But often these things actually hit just before the exactitude of the alignment. But be warned, there is a pretty tense thing going on, and there actually can be a lot of people breaking the rules. And my advice to you would be, if somebody's breaking the rules, just stay out of it, quite frankly. I think it's really tempting to want to police everybody and tell them what to do, but I don't think that gets any of us anywhere at all, at this point. But there could be, there's sort of like, if there's not any increased lawlessness in the next 24 hours, I think we've dodged a bullet, which is great. The moon is actually now on the anaretic degree of Gemini. It's about to change signs in about 2 hours. I think it's 12:43 p.m. here in London. So, give or take wherever you are in the world. But it's about 11:15. So it's about 12:15. Yeah, about an hour and a half from now, the moon is going to move into the sign of Cancer, Moonchild. Now, what that means is the moon is currently void of course. Now, you might have heard it's not good to start anything new when the moon is void of course, and that's true. What it is good to do, it's really good to just chill, to just relax, to just be, all right? So especially with that Mars-Saturn thing stirring things up, really good. In the next hour and a half, I'm going to be here for about another 10-15 minutes. We're going to do some chanting, and then we're going to do a card, but then maybe go off and do some meditating or do some yoga. I'm going to go do some yoga with Joshua from the ashram that I go to. Go and do some yoga, go and do anything that allows you to just be. I mean, for some people it's going to be gardening, for some people it's going to be cooking. The void of course moon is a gift to just let it all go, just stop for a moment, okay? So try that. So now I'm really briefly going to tell the story for my son who's not listening, how I met your father, just to follow on yesterday or the other day when I was talking about going to the ashram in India for the very first time, which is the reason why the ashram is so much on my mind at the moment, is because I'm doing a half hour of chanting to Mahakali, which we're going to do in a minute, just to 5 minutes or 3 minutes of it. But I'm doing a good half hour chant every day with other people who go to the ashram from all over the world. So every morning, just before I come on here, we do half an hour of chanting, and it's amazing. Anyway, so I just want to tell this really funny story. And I think you'll agree it's a funny story of how I met my husband as a result of going to the ashram. And a few people have asked me where this ashram is. It's the Sri Narayani Peedam in southern India, in Vellore, Vellore. It's actually just near Vellore. The actual town where it is Tirumalakudi, which is a bit harder to spell, but just look up Sri Narayani Peedam Vellore if you're called to go there. Anyway, so I had been at this ashram for a while, and I, at that stage of my life, I was a freelance journalist still. Going to the ashram completely changed my life and led me onto the path where I am now, where I can obviously be of, I think, greater service to people. Journalism was changing, and I was kind of looking for another way to use my love of writing, and I found it. But I was at this ashram. I'd been there for about 2 or 3 weeks by this stage. It was all very interesting. There were lots of strange, mysterious, miraculous things happening. But at one point, I was actually of an age where I had decided I was finally ready to meet the love of my life and settle down. So growing up, my mother was very much one of those women's libbers, and she was like, oh, darling, you don't need to get married. Oh, don't get married too soon. You don't want to get married too young. And she was always really putting me off and saying, you want to get an education, go and get yourself an education, go to university, get a degree, and then you can get married. And which is great, Mum. Mwah, thank you for that. That was great advice. But I'd come to the stage where I'd got my education, I'd got my degree, I'd been working as a journalist for I don't know how many years by this stage, probably something like 10 or 15 or something. And I was like, you know what? I'd been traveling around the world with my backpack and my laptop, and I'd go to Thailand. You know, I was one of the earliest of these people that do this now. I mean, I probably wasn't. I was probably halfway. There's probably people started doing it in the 60s. I was doing it in the probably early 90s or mid 90s, and you know, just pitching up somewhere in a bungalow, $20 a night, and writing stories which I sent back to magazines and newspapers around the world and so on. Anyway, so I decided that was great, but I'd had enough of it, and I was ready now to, and I sort of thought I can just be a bit more normal, although I'm not normal, obviously, clearly. But I thought I can just, you know, settle down a bit now. I'm ready to settle down. And so I'd taken a card one day. For those of you in Australia, I was in Myer. You know Myer, it's a department store in Australia. And there was that Tatiana's Oracle. Do you know that book, Tatiana's Oracle? Anyway, I opened up the book in Tatiana's Oracle, and you can ask a question. And I was like, and it was probably about a year before I'd found myself in India. And I opened up and I said, when am I going to get married? I wonder when I'm going to get married. And I opened it up, and it said, when you're 62. And I was like, oh my God, that's a long way away. Wow. And so when I was and it kind of stuck in my head. Plus I'd actually been to this kind of reader one night, like probably 10 years earlier. In the middle of the night, for some reason, I was in London actually, and I'd seen the name in the back of Tatler magazine, and I'd called her up and I'd gone to see her, and she had said to me, you're not going to get married forever or for a very long time. And so in my head I had that. Then I had Tatiana's Oracle telling me I was going to get married when I was 62, and I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, without having explained any of this to anyone, I was then asked in India, I was told about this thing called the Marriage Advancement Ceremony. The Marriage Advancement Ceremony. And I thought, well, that sounds like the thing for me, because I've had one reader telling me I'm either never going to get married or will be a long time away. I have Tatiana's Oracle telling me I'm going to get married when I'm 62. And so, yeah, I need to do the Marriage Advancement Ceremony. So I spoke to someone at the ashram whose name was Vidya. And I said, listen, you know, what about this ashram? What about this marriage advancement ceremony? I think I need to do it. And she's like, no problem, Yasmin. It's every Friday afternoon. You go to the temple and you pay your money. And it was like, you know, the equivalent of $1 or £1 or something. And you got a tray, a lovely brass tray with that. And what they do in India sometimes is they get limes, you know, like a lime, like a lemon. They chop them in half, they scoop out all the pulp, and then they turn them inside out. They put ghee, which is, you know, like fat, it's clarified butter. They put ghee in there with a little cotton wick, and I had 9 of these, so they're like 9 little candles, and I had to go around this temple, I think it was 3 times, stopping at every, they had all these little beautiful goddess statues around the temple, embedded into the wall of the temple. So I had to stop at each of the goddesses all the way around and move the tray around 3 times, saying Om Namo Narayani, Om Namo Narayani, Om Namo Narayani. And I didn't even know what that meant then. I hadn't been at the ashram that long. And they said they do it every Friday, just turn up, pay your money, and they'll tell you what to do. So I went, I got my tray of limes, and I went around the temple 3 times as instructed, saying my chant. And that was fine. And I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. Okay, so there's a little old guy, really wizened old guy who took my money. And I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. So I became convinced that that was going to work and that I would now meet the love of my life. And anyway, so I got to Paris. So eventually I left after 5 weeks at the ashram, had the most amazing, mind-blowing time, which I am going to write a book about one day. And I was actually living in Paris at the time. I told you I went to the ashram because I had sublet my apartment in Sydney and I'd sublet my apartment in Paris, so I had nowhere to live. So I thought I'll spend the 5 weeks in India. So that's how I ended up there. 5 weeks is over, time to go back to Paris. Got on the plane, flew into Paris, and literally landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport. And, you know, got off, turned on my mobile phone straight away, as you do after a long flight, and called a girlfriend of mine, Rosemary, and that phone call led to me meeting my husband of 14 years, Olivier, 2 weeks later. So basically I got off the plane and set in motion the events which led to me meeting Olivier 2 weeks later, this phone call I made, okay? Now, but wait, there's more. Because then a friend of mine in Australia heard about this, because I met Olivier and we fell in love pretty much straight away, especially me with him. And he took a little bit longer. He thought, God, she's an Australian astrologer. Like, he's French. Like, he's like, we're in Paris. And he's like, oh my God, I met this Australian astrologer. It's not what I had in mind when I thought I was going to grow up and get married one day. But I was just taken with him from day one. He was he came on board pretty quickly. And we fell in love very quickly. And it was obvious to all my friends that I'd met the one, you know, very, very special man. And anyway, so one of my friends in Australia was like, wow, I want what she's had. I want to meet my life partner. I'm going to India. So this friend literally found out how to get there, where it was, all that, turns up at the ashram, say, yes, I'm a friend of Yasmin's, I'm here, you know, and amongst other things, I would like to do the marriage advancement ceremony because I am ready to get married. And they're like, huh, what? And she's like, I want to do the marriage advancement ceremony. It happens every Friday at the temple. And they're like, what? We don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, you know, Yasmin did it. You go, you pay your money, you get some lime candles, you go around the temple and you say a chant and it's to advance marriage. And they're like, sorry, we do not have a clue what you're talking about. So that's my story of how I met your father, Louis, if ever you would like to watch this. How about that, eh? So I don't know, I feel like that was something that was created for me because I'd had those sort of negative predictions that I had to get through. But that's an example of how amazing this ashram is that I've been going to on and off for about 15 years. So with all that said, now let's do the chant which has come from the teacher at the ashram, Narani Amma. And I've just got a tiny bit more information about it for you today, just really briefly, because I know I've taken a long time. I'm getting lots of hearts and laughing people for that story. It's a good story, isn't it? Absolutely no word of a lie. My friend was like, oh my God, what? Can't believe I've come to India. It doesn't even exist. What's happening? Anyway, so here is the chant from the ashram. Om Kreem Maha Karli Sarva Rogam Nasi Nasi. Now we've been doing this every day, I don't know, for a week or two now. Can't wait to read all your comments afterwards. And I just got some more information about Nasi from the ashram yesterday, actually. So I'm going to tell you, this is fourth hand, because the teacher there, Narani Amma, was apparently talking to another student who was there, talking about the chant, because they're all doing it at the ashram, obviously. We're doing it all over the world. Like, there are priests all over India chanting at the moment, actually. Definitely at this ashram, but I think all the ashrams have priests chanting. So the teacher was talking to another student, and someone else who lives at the ashram sort of was there and heard the conversation and later explained it to someone else, who then put it on a WhatsApp group thread that I'm on, and this is how I'm giving you this information. So if it's anything in Chinese whispers lost along the way, I hope not, but I think not. And I did actually write about it in a post yesterday, so you might have already heard this, but let me, for those of you who didn't see the post. Nasi, Nasi means destroy, destroy, okay? So it's Om Kreem, the Bij mantra sound for Kali, Maha Kali, the goddess with the power to destroy negativity. Sarva Rogam means all diseases and all negativity. Nasi, Nasi means destroy, destroy. But Nasi actually has two Bij mantra sounds in it, Na and Si, okay? Na means soul, okay? Si means fire, fire, okay? So we are talking about our soul fire, the fire in our souls destroying negativity. So we're actually asking Kali, I think, I get from this, to help us to use our soul fire, the fire in our souls, to destroy the virus. And I find that really, really powerful. I just learned that last night, so I wanted to share that. Okay, we're going to do 9 of these rather. Takes about a minute for those of you who aren't into chanting. And then we'll do a card. Here we go. Om Krim Mahakali Sarvarogam Nasi Nasi. 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 And we send the energy of healing to all our family, and friends, our community, our cities, our country, and Mother Earth. And now I ask you to bring to mind someone you know who needs healing, no matter what from. Doesn't have to be the coronavirus. Someone who needs healing. And let's imagine ourselves as a circle of light workers around the planet Earth, and we put that person in the center of the circle. And we send them blue light from the palms of our hand, from our hearts and our third eye and our crown chakra. We send them the energy of healing. And now we extend that blue light all the way around the planet. And now I ask you to bring to mind, thinking about the past few weeks of lockdown and shutdown and quarantine, or whatever you call it, one thing you are really grateful for. One person, one thing. And now let's just say loudly, out loud or silently, 3 times. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we're going to finish with the chant that I said when I went around the temple, which I now know what it means. It's Sanskrit and it means I surrender to the divine, or I surrender to the Divine Mother. Om Namo Narayani. Om Namo Narayani. Om Namo Narayani. Thanks, everybody. All right, so we're now going to finish with a card for the day. Think of your most pressing question. Think of your most pressing question. Or if you don't have a pressing question, ask for life guidance. Here we go. Watch out. We got the full moon in Aries card. A fiery climax approaches. Now, this is a real warning, guys. A fiery climax approaches. It's a real warning. Mars and Saturn hasn't peaked yet, okay? And even for me, it's a big warning, you know. I was a bit crazy yesterday with my poor husband. I lost my temper because I think, you know, we're all going a little bit stir crazy. I can't even remember what it was about, you know. Literally, I can't remember what it was about. This is a warning. If you don't want a fiery climax, stay calm, okay? The thing with cards that you need to know is that they are a warning. You can change what's going to happen next, you know? Like, just because it says a fiery climax approaches doesn't mean you have to have a fiery climax. It doesn't have to be like that. It can actually be a warning that you want to calm things down. Okay, it's time to see if you've been a little bit too much me, and I may have been, you know. I think with my husband yesterday, I haven't really appreciated how much he's been doing for us as a family. There's a tug of war going on between what you want and what someone else wants. I just want to say, we've made up, okay? We have made up, it's all good. But it is kind of descriptive for me of what was going on yesterday. It might be what's going to happen again today for me or for anyone else. As you wait, ask yourself if you've been handling the situation as sensitively as you could have done. If you know deep down you've been a little rash or harsh, gone too far or fast or overstepped the mark, then accept on some level you created this situation yourself. And I accept that. I know I can be a little bit type A, let's face it. If you're in a tense situation, meditate your way to peace. Yay! So I'll be back tomorrow to tell you how I went with that card. Hope you're really, really well. Lots and lots of love to everybody. And mwah, a big kiss from me. I'll see you tomorrow.